think everybody see my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
I stay like this. So yes, I will talk about Diana, a plugin I wrote some years ago, which is based on things which on things on 3D Suite. So I took the algorithm from Thomas, and I to perform colocalization for object-based colocalization. So basically, just to introduce colocalization, it's when we say colocalization when they are to sorry, yeah, sorry. So when we want to measure two objects which are really which are of small distance, so they are localized in the same place. But we know physically we can't have two objects at the same place, so yeah, we need to be careful of the resolution of what we are using, so the objectives, and the sampling frequency, so the pixel size. So where the best is to use confocal, or most better it would be to do super resolution acquisition. So just to warn you about things you may which may happen. So here it's just point peak function in X and Y, and it's a bead which has some fluorescence. And if we mount it in a wrong media, like Movial or things like this, when we acquire this in depth, so for example, I was really sick, so it's the acquisition here in Z, it's at 120 micrometers. We can have an elevation in Z, and you may know that it's the same if you put your signal when we acquire signal depending the Z signal. So when we are far from the surface of the slide, there is an elongation in Z. So be careful of this mounting media and do some trial. Here in this study we took a high index, so to avoid mismatch from the difference index from the objectives, the oil, the glass, and the sample. So we try to have the same index from the oil, glass, and we avoid many aberration. And that's why we have less deformation. So, and the deformation may occur and bias your acquisition and analysis. Another thing you may know is just clearing. Basically, when we try those things, we were with brain, or I think it was mouse brain, and we put the CFM3, the brain in this media. the brain came transparent. So it's a correct thing. How can I say? So it's matching the both index. And when we put a small chicken in the same index, multimedia, we can have some things like this. So it has an impact of the signal, because when we have some skin like this, it occurs the signal to go to the detector. Just for just an introduction. So choreolocalization, we have two possibilities to do choreolocalization. It's you have a collection of pixels and do comparison with the intensities. Like you may know Pearson coefficient, Manders, and things like this. And there is another way to do choreolocalization. It's object-based. And I will speak about this because, as you have seen, with the 3D suite, we play with objects, so we can measure distances and things like this, and obtain some analysis, some results. So you may know Jakob, a great collocation tools, which was developed by my boss, Susan Bolt, on the Fabrice Cordelier. And it was some year in the 2017, yeah, I think initially, and 2007, yeah, and yes, we have developed this way because on Jakob we only can the object-based characterization is only in this way, and so the comparison with object in green here and other in the other channel which are included into this object. So in distance analysis, so Diana, we can do this partial and distances when they are not localized, and measure distance and many things. So yes, I'll speak this. So basically, you have seen many things from 3D ROI Manager, and what we can do with Diana is all developed here. We can do everything from Diana manually with those tools. So we need at first to do.
So Jeff, you just want to do the demo, maybe?
Yes.
Because visually, maybe it's easier to understand when you do a demo.
Yes.
If it's okay for you, yeah.
Yes, but I introduce this slide.
Okay, sure. No problem.
Yeah, because I will speak about segmentation right now.
Okay, good.
So manual thresholding, you may know, I don't know, it's in Fiji, there is 3D object counter. I don't know if you know this. It's like a manual thresholding, because we set a value into the image, and all the pixels which are higher this value and which are connected, so they are touching.
Connected.
Connected.
They are connected.
Yeah. Sorry. they are they are put together to create an object. And let's try. So I took, yeah, up, I go on the, let's take an image from the Dropbox, and an image which is not segmented.
So it's in the neuro folder.
Neuro folder.
In
Yeah.
the data neuro. You have the raw data and the segmented data.
Yes. So I will just take a small piece of this image because to be faster, because I know 3D object counter takes many time to do the segmentation. So as there is 1000 by 1000 and 25 images, it will take much time, so I don't have time. So let's do this. So you define, as I said, a threshold value. I don't know if we can see, right? I just enhance the brightness contrast. So, yes. So you can see this the object counter, and you can adjust the value, and it's the same value for every slices. You have some filtering about the size of the object you want. So if they are you don't want to some noise. So here there's so no noise, but if there are, if your image has some noise, I know it's not the same. So it's not relative to the same noise, but yes. So you can have some really small things like this, and you don't want them. So basically, you can increase the size and have a maximum value. You can exclude also the object which are touching the edges.
So be careful, because the edges is like X, Y, and Z. So if objects are touching the edges in Z, so the first slice and the last slice, they will be removed too. So
All
be careful.
Yeah, all the objects you can see here won't be there. Here also, and it would create many things. So I think what we want is just the object. And yeah, I don't need all of this. And here we have the object.
So one thing I don't like about 3D object counter, I put the number. I don't like. The number will be like objects to analyze. We don't want this.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes.
But basically, you want to
I
show
don't
that
use this one quite often. So
I know you want to show that 3D object counter is not good. Thank you. That's perfect.
Yes. So it's the easiest way, but I closed this.
Sorry, just a comment about the numbers. You can actually disable them in the options of the 3D object counter.
Yes, we know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a 3D object counter option, right?
Yes.
Or setting, yeah. So yeah, show number, just please remove this, uncheck this, please, as soon as possible. It's very annoying.
Do this again, and here we have the object. As we can see, there is different values, and that's what we want to use when we do some 3D manager. I can add them. Right. Yes, that was the easiest way to do some segmentation.
The problem with this, if we have the same threshold for all the spots, some spots are very bright, some spots are very dark, very faint. So with the same threshold, you may miss some very faint spot, or some very bright spot may be merged together. So for this kind of image, you may want like each spot a different threshold. So this is why we may want to use something else. If the object have more or less all the same value, and very well constructed, you can use a 3D object counter, no problem. When objects are very different threshold, you may want something a bit different. So you want to show spot segmentation or Diana or something?
Yes,
spot
yes.
segmentation, maybe? Yeah, okay, please.
Yes, yes, let's go. So here we have spot segmentation. So I show you the algorithm, and I go to manipulation, the manipulation just after. So we perform a local maxima on the of the image. So I don't have just see this image, and we create a new image with just the maximum in which are calculated within a kernel. So just
so the local maxima is like the center of the fluorescence. Usually the fluorescence is very bright at the center of the spot, and then will decrease around the spot. So local maxima will focus mostly on the center of the spot, like the center of the fluorescence, if it's a spot. If it's not a spot, there's no need to do this. And this local maxima is like the seed, like this. It's not exactly the center, but it's like the seed to grow the object around this seed. So to detect spot, one thing very important is to detect the seed. One seed will be one object. So detecting the seeds correctly is already the first step to detect the spot correctly. One seed, one object.
yes. For example, here we have this image. Let's do this. So when we want to do this, it's just in a 3D fast filter. Thomas spoke about this in the beginning, and just to select maximum local. There is a radius to say, and also a z. For example, I just.
So the radius should be more or less the size of the spot. So that means I want only one local maxima in a radius 2, 2, 2 in this example. If you know your spot is a bit bigger, is like 4 pixels in radius, you may want to say 4, 4, 2 or other. If you have an idea of your size of your object, you want one local maxima in a radius of 2 or 3 or 4, depending on the size of your object.
So let's do this. And now, I don't know if you can see, there is some points.
A lot.
Yes, a lot of points, and each point is a value of the pixel of the initial image. With this, we do just a watershed with the initial image, and we will perform a Gaussian fit around the maximum local.
So the watershed is like the 2D watershed when you do a 2D analysis in ImageJ to separate a touching object. So it does the same in 3D. I think this is the older version when the separation is not very nice, but it's okay. So 3D watershed is true. When one seed, another seed, you separate each seed in its own zone to separate the seed. So if you know that you will have touching object, you may want to use the watershed to separate touching object, one seed, one object, and try to separate them with the watershed.
So for each point, we do a Gaussian fit like this. So the highest corresponding to this value, and we set standard deviation around this. So always some problem with Zoom. Yes, here. So it's spot segmentation. It's there. Let's open this and speak about this. So first, we don't, as you can see, there is some points who can be in the background, and we can avoid those values by doing a threshold on the high on the maximum we have found, and avoid the lowest signal. So there is different algorithms to do this, but I will focus on Gaussian fit. So we need to set a radius. So I come back to have the distance from the center. So it's corresponding to the size of your object, and SD value. So SD is corresponding to the higher this value is, the more bigger your object will be. And you will obtain bigger objects with two, for example, and don't go too far, because you will take some background. If you, so basically, you can take 1 or 1.5. It's good. This I don't touch this, but it's just corresponding to when we stop the surrounding. And so here we seeds corresponding to the peaks, the maximum local we just performed, and the spot I think is this one, yes, corresponding to the initial image. So when we do this, we obtain a new image which is segmented, and I need to adjust this. I can do some color, and you can see there is many objects within it, and each one has a value. And we can put it in 3D Manager. So spot segmentation is great for small objects, and mostly spherical. Another possibility is to do the 3D iterative thresholding. So when we have an object, it will sequentially increase the threshold value, and it calculates the size of the object, and when the size has a minimum differences between each step, it stops the growing reducing the size of the object, and we obtain a new the object we have, and it's depending really of this well, So it doesn't depend so much of the intensity, and those two objects have different intensity value. So for doing this, we can have a try for doing this. Let's take again this image and go in 3D iterative thresholding. You need to know the size of your object. So here they are small. You can let this if you want to take all the big objects, and put the minimum thresholding value. So to avoid also the noise from the background. So you need to have a look of the intensity when there is no signal. Here we are really small value.
So this image is a deconvolve image. It's a confocal image, but it's deconvolve. This is why the signal is very good. So deconvolution is always a very good thing to do if you can do it for your images.
I would put just 20. It's a good value. For this image, it's a good value, I think. There is different criteria to find the object. Mostly we are using this one, MSCR, so maximum. I don't know.
Extended version.
Well,
so for me, I'm using you can use this one. If you know that you have a very round object, you can use something like elongation or compactness. It will try to compute like the most compact or most round object. MSCR is a bit more generic. You can play with this anyway, depending really on your object, on your image.
And a method of thresholding. So here it's k-mean, but
so use step is easier to understand. Yeah.
Yes, so that's cool.
Yeah. You have to play a bit via the documentation. The easiest one is step. Yeah.
Yes, in Diana plugin, it's the step. So
okay, good.
Yeah, so the step is just the intensity value.
So that means for each threshold, it will do the thresholding for each value. Threshold at value 20, then 21. Each time it will detect object, and then so it will do like 200 threshold. So it will detect 200 times object, and it will find like for the 200 threshold the best object having the volume. So it can take time because it will test all the possible threshold in this image. So if you have a big image, it can take quite some minutes.
Yes, and yes, if you use this, well, it can take a really long time with 16 bits images. So let's stay in 8 bits to for this, or increase the step.
So you see, each time task is one thresholding, one detection of object for one value. And at the end, in 5 seconds, it will say, okay, so the best object. So that means for each object may have been detected with different thresholding value, but you don't really know which one. But usually quite nice.
We obtain something like this. Great. And for the first channel is the smallest object, and the second channel, it's they are bigger and bigger again with the last channel.
Because the second channel is like two small objects, they merge together to a bigger object, but the bigger object, the volume is still in the range you decided. So after, depending on which one you want, you may want channel 1 or channel 2, but usually channel 1, this is what we want. So channel 2 is more like merge object, but they are still in the volume. So usually we use channel 1. Or there's an option best, and here you selected the option all the object. You have the option best. It will take the best object, and you have only one channel.
Okay, that was iterative thresholding. Okay, so I finished with the segmentation. I don't know if you have some question for this.
So segmentation, segmentation is a very complex process. So we just provide some tools that's working quite well for our data. It's working well for other people data, but for your data, you have to check. Smart segmentation if you have spot. If you have something a bit different than spot, maybe iterative segmentation. If you have something bigger, like nuclei, maybe try nuclei segmentation. If you have something very, very complex like tissue, like the nuclei are like on top of each other, crowded, it's kind of a big mess. Just go for StarDist, 3D, or cell pose. Also, very useful for 3D nuclei segmentation in tissue. But segmentation is very, very complex process. Yeah, any question?
Cell pose. The color can be related with some measure.
So the colors here are very arbitrary, just the ID of the object.
Yes.
So we can see that using 3D Manager, we can put like some colors, like the largest object with some colors, the smallest object with different colors. We can do this kind of thing in a 3D Manager. We can see later. But here the colors are completely arbitrary. 3D simple segmentation is like a 3D object counter. You want to try? You want to show, Jeff? 3D simple segmentation is very simple.
Okay.
It's exactly like a 3D object counter. You just do just one threshold. Like in a 3D object counter, you use one threshold. It's exactly the same. The minimum size of your object, the maximum size of your object, and it will do the job. That's it. So that means you have to have an idea of the minimum threshold of your object. So it may not be as good because maybe we need like a different threshold for a different spot. And actually the idea is the same, but the segmentation algorithm is faster. So you have only one threshold, but segmentation should be faster than a 3D object counter. But you will get the same result, but faster. And of course, you have this 32 bits in case you have a crazy number of objects.
Yes. Okay. Nice.
So you see here, we use the same threshold for all the objects. It's not so good. For this kind of, there are some very bright object, very faint object. So we may want a different threshold for each object. So this is why we use like spot segmentation or iterative thresholding, where each object is detected.
I was using this value. So
exactly. So 3D simple segmentation is using this. So basically, this is what to do. You use a threshold, and you see, okay, with this value, my object are okay, and then you remember, okay, 58, and you go 3D simple segmentation, you put 58. So this is a basic simple simple segmentation.
Is the question?
Yes. So for the iterative thresholding, eventually, like it goes over all the possible thresholds, but still selects one that is based on some criteria, right?
Yes.
So basically, if you know your image well, and once you determine with a few example image, you can use that threshold in the simple segmentation, and it'll be essentially the same as the iterative thresholding, right? No?
No, because iterative thresholding, for example, I do a threshold with a value 10, I will extract one true object. And when I go value 20, I will extract two different objects. So the object, some objects will be detected with threshold 10, some object will be detected with object 20.
Oh, okay.
So it's not an overall best threshold. Each object will be detected with its own threshold. It's not exactly like I test all the threshold and then I find the best for all the object. Each object has its own threshold. So it's not, yeah.
So in that case, the 3 channels outputted, are those based on different criteria, or they are different series, right?
No, it's just in case some object with a low threshold, they may be merged. With high threshold, they may be separated. If there are 2 bright objects, with high threshold, they are separated. With low threshold, they may merge.
Okay.
So for low threshold, we have 2 objects. The volume is okay, so we keep them. For low threshold, you have 1 big object. Actually, the 2 objects merge. The volume is okay, we keep them also. So in the first channel, we show the 2 objects separated. In the second channel, we show the 2 objects merged together. And then you decide which one you want. But usually we want the object separated, usually.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Diana. So it's a plugin you can find. No, it's a Gasser. So you can find in the Wikipedia from ImageJ and ImageJ.q.tudor and also ImageJ distance analysis. So you can find documentation from here and some what we can do with it and just some macro line.
How to install it?
Yes, so I'm going this. So installation where you just, it's also called method. So you just download this file and put it in the plugin folder from ImageJ or Fiji. So for the Mac user like me, just go on.
So you can also download the jar thing and then drag and drop on Fiji. It will automatically copy in the plugins folder. You can drag and drop onto the Fiji. Well, it will copy there.
Here, okay. And yes, so that's on. Okay. So let's open some the two.
Segmented data, right?
No, it's not the segmented.
Okay,
yet.
you want to do the full thing. Good.
Yeah, just to show that I want to do the full thing, but won't take too much time. So here it's Diana. So there is initially we wanted to do a workflow for the analysis. So we want the analysis, but finally we need to create the object, and for this we create this interface. There is a problem. Well, maybe I just don't save. Yes, I'll just go back. Let's try again. I hope it works. Yes. Great. So there is the two images, and just select which one you want to use, and there is the three segmentation method I just spoke before. So basically, the classic is just the simple we say spot and iterative. And when we just do this, and we will obtain the correct segmentation. yes, okay. So just brightness. Yes. So here we have many objects. As you can see, there is difference of the size between the object. Nicola could have speak about this because that's some images he took for this study. And me, you know. So yes, so let's go back to the analysis. So just the distance, I won't take long on this because Thomas spoke about this before. So center to center, border to border, border to center. So when we say center to border, we take the first for the object, initial object, so the A, and the first is, the second is for the last. So when we say center to border, it's the center from the object A to the B, the edge from the border to the B. We perform a ratio between the volume between the objects. So the three possibilities, the overlapping from B on the volume of A, volume of A on the volume of B, and volume from just AB on the full size of both. And finally, we can have surface contact. So with, let's, in the software, we say a distance, and it will calculate the surface which are between this distance. Can do something like this or things like this. And of course, we with image with 3D ROI, we can know how many objects we have in both population and how many they are in contact.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So in the figure E, you show the surface of contact, but in the first diagram in E, there is no obvious contact between A and B. So how is this calculated?
We will say a distance calculate. So when you have a small object, what you can say.
So Jeff, you want me to help? So again, you can see. So basically, of course, the objects are not touching, but there's a gap between the two objects. So we try to measure this. We say, okay, the surface for the gap. What is the surface we want? The minimal surface we want for the gap, like 2 pixels. So if we find 1 pixel from object A that is closer than 2 pixels than any pixel to object B, this is within the gap. So we need to fix a distance for the gap. They are not touching, but there's a gap. So basically we fix the distance of the gap and we measure how many pixels from A and B are within the distance of the gap. So we measure how many pixels are within the gap. Of course, if they are inside each other, you can have the gap inside or outside. But yeah, this is the idea.
Yeah, okay. So to analyze, let's go to analyze those things. So in Diana, analyze. And yes, oh no, it was too fast. So you need to have here the initial the raw data from the two images you want to analyze, and the two labeled images, so the image you generate with the segmentation. So corresponding each with each one. So here it's okay. And you can just select only the object which are touching. Well, I want to use this. So before do anything, we need to initialize. Just when we do this, just calculate things here. And it initialize the population.
Yeah, just computation, don't worry.
And so when, depending on what you want to do, you can just select the colocalization. So let's do a table for showing the percentage of overlapping and the distance, for example, here. And we can also view the population in a array manager.
Is that 3D array manager or 2D?
3D, yes, it's
3D?
your
Yeah, so good.
your so let's reduce this. Alors, so here it's just in this table we have all the distance we check here. Yep. All the distance, all the things we check are in the colloc result. So it takes the object from A. So A is this image, the first image. And the object 2 is the object which has the value 2. And there is a colocalization, or they are touching with the object 2 in B. And do this on perform the overlapping and distance between every object in the image. And we have.
So it's giving you only when there is colocalization, because there
Yeah,
are
it's
a lot
only
of objects. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
objects are not colocalizing. We don't see them here, right?
Yes, that's why the object 1 we don't see it.
Okay. Only colocalization.
Yes, and for example, you have the object 24 here, which is touching
colocalizing, not touching, colocalizing.
Yes, colocalizing.
Yes.
It's touching also. So yes. 3 other objects in the other image. As you can see, there is a percentage here, and I think this object in B is really small because it's
100% inside.
100%, yeah. And the distance here, it's in micrometer, I think. It's in the yes, it's in the units of your image. So it's the center to edge, anything like this. It's okay. Yes. So let's talk about just the log. We can see the number of objects in each population, its image, and the number of objects in the number of objects in the image A which are touching another object in B are 3,000, and the same for the other population. Let's have a look here. Here I just I just have two ROI manager, 3D ROI manager. There is the list of all the objects in A and B. You can select them and see where they are located. And the same for the population. Here we can see the small things there. And you can also merge and delete, but it do things like 3D ROI manager, but just the basics. So we just can merge two objects and delete some objects and save all of them. Here you have the number of objects here, and we can have a filter to select only in the list the object which are touching another in the other population. And here we have those population. And I just create another image. I think it's there, colloc here. Well, it's not so interesting, but it's just the overlapping of the object between the overlap of the two population. So what we can see, it's just the colocalization. Is it okay?
Can you do measurement with Diana? Let's say we have all the colocalization. You have also measurements, right? The same thing.
Measure here?
Yeah. Okay, so we have the same thing that we do in 3D Manager.
Yes, but it's more basics.
Yep.
So when we select the measure here, we perform those checked values we want, and it do this for the both image. I won't go back on this because Thomas spoke about this. And last, no, not really last, but we can also measure the distances between the objects which aren't colocalized. So it's not in the way we want to have some measure of overlapping, but basically the distance between objects. For example, if you are in super resolution, and you may use this to have many distances, and we can analyze the closest to the n closest object for each one. Okay. So let's say 2, for example. And it's when we say 2, it calculates the 2 objects which are the closest object for each one. So there is 2 values, in fact 2 objects for each one, and the distances. There was a question or things like that?
No, it's okay.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we say so. It's already 5 UTC, 6 in Paris. So we have a lot of things to talk. So maybe we just take some question, and maybe we can explore different details. First question from Xiaowei. Yeah. So of course so maybe Jeff, you want to answer this in this kind of optical stuff, optical thing. So of course that means if you 2 objects, they say they colocalize if the distance between the 2 objects is lower than the spatial resolution, right? And is there something stupid, or is it something like this? Jeff, you confirm?
I don't know. Sorry.
So we can say colocalization based on distances if the resolution of the system is 200 nanometer.
Yeah.
If we have two objects, the distance between the two objects is lower than 200 nanometer, we can say they colocalize, because with the optic we cannot distinguish them. But it's, I
Yes,
think it's a philosophical question.
Yes, it's difficult. Like colocalization is quite
Yeah, Xiaowei,
No, I'm actually trying to say that, you know, like when you implement the algorithm, did you use like whether the segmented objects have overlapping voxels, or did you actually calculate their distance and then determine if they are less than some specified, like, I don't know, 200 nanometers?
So the two things, two different things. Two objects, they may colocalize, so it's really colocalized. So they share some voxel at the same position in two different channels. And so I think in the algorithm of Jeff, colocalization means colocalization. And from this, you can compute the distance, center-center distance between the two colocalized objects. Of course, you can compute distances between two objects that will not colocalize. The object may not colocalize, but we can compute, of course, the center-center distance. If the worst thing is like one object is 1 pixel, this is the worst thing. They will not colocalize eventually, but their distance may be less than 200 nanometer.
Got it.
of things we may know is in colocalization there is also the fact of the size of the object which you want to analyze. So if you have big object, distances may not so quite interesting to calculate, and we will use overlapping, so the percentage. And when you have really small particles, distance should be really useful.